So hello you wonderful citizen of the internet, and welcome to a bit of a story time that is flashing us back to the Nostalgia Project era, and to me and Ash, and to a story that never got told and that never quite made it into either the YouTube story times or into the final book, because obviously the Nostalgia Project was kind of its working title while I was just reading the chapters out on YouTube, and then eventually I rounded them up and polished them up and added a bit more in there, and it became Millennium Gothic, the book, which has been out for 2 years on Amazon now, and it's been a very weird and wonderful and intriguing couple of years having this out. So there were some things that I wanted to kind of catch you up on and update and just talk about really with this book, and I will get to that after the story time. But yeah, this story time, it's kind of a prose poem, but I feel it adds context. As you grow in age and you get more self-aware and your hindsight gets clearer and clearer, you know, I think something to mention is that anyone writing an autobiography, please bear in mind they are an unreliable narrator. We are all unreliable narrators when it comes to our own lives. Like that, you know, we stand from our own side. You know what I mean? Like if we get into a beef with someone, we're telling it from our side, and like we think they're a dickhead and we think they've got no redeeming qualities, and they probably feel the same. And you don't get that. You know, like fiction books, you often get like both people's side, and it can be really interesting. Whereas like when it's one person telling their story, it's so unreliable. And I feel like this story time that I'm about to give you kind of really brings that home. Because much as you know, if you've heard the story times or you've read the book, you know I miss Ash like hell. But this story time and this kind of realization does make me realize at the same time I don't think I was good for him, and I think there is a very high likelihood that I quite possibly would have fucked him up in an irrevocable way, possibly even a fatal way, had we stayed partners. So this story time, the backstory of this story time, it came to me about a week ago when I was on another one of my dipshitty trying to cut down methadone rather quickly tapers. So I was feeling kind of dope sick and shitty. Listen to a lot of music when I'm tapering methadone because I can't fucking concentrate on anything. Like my ADHD just goes crazy and I can't do anything. I heard a song that I was like, Ash would love the fuck out of this. I think, like, would he? Because I don't know him anymore. Would he like this? But it got me thinking about him, and it got me thinking about various drug-related things, so trigger warning for drug use on this story time. And with that said, I guess I will get to reading you it, and we will get to the updates and the discussions and all of that waffle afterwards. So without further ado, this little prose poem, or quite a long prose poem actually, I entitled it Junkie Love, and here it comes. Hey, I found this tune and I thought you'd like it, but then I remembered I have no idea what you like these days. It's weird to be so far out of touch, but I guess you don't have the dubious benefits of being a junkie, and I think about that a lot. The fact that you'd have followed me anywhere, to hell or heaven or even the gutter. I seemed to have that effect on boys when I was young. The irony. Oh, the irony of that age gap judgment. The assumption that you could ever have corrupted me. Ah, shit. Do you remember that time at your work meal in a Chinese restaurant when I pointed loudly from across the table at the bruise on your forearm and asked you how you got it? You said it was a bad phlebotomist, a blood test, a really shitty one. And I said, what? No one draws blood from there. I really pushed the point home. I was too autistic to see your eyes pleading. Drop it. Please, God, of all the times and places in the world, not here, not now. Drop it. But fortunately no one else seemed to notice either. And when we got home, you told me about another unseen parallel in our lives. Needles. You were curious. I bet it was Slash's fucking autobiography that did it. You were obsessed with that sodding book. You told me about it for 4 straight hours on MCAT, the last real drug we ever did together. On the night that I fucked it all up for the second time. For the last time. It sounded like Slash was your childhood best friend. I wanted to talk too. I was high as a kite, but you were so animated, so lit up, so enthused. Even my ADHD brain couldn't bear to derail you because I loved you, you twat. Why the fuck couldn't I just say that I fucking loved you? Anyway, whatever. You weren't shooting up. You were just curious. You were just taking blood out to fuck about with in a variety of ways. Ironic then that you nearly got outed by me of all people, by my clumsy questions, as the needle junkie that you never were. So that night I kept it zipped, tried to politely encourage harm reduction, pass on the tips and tricks that I'd gleaned without saying too much. About the speed, the coke, the fact that I was shooting up. I don't think you found that out till 2009, a year later. Nervous breakdown, morphine, heroin, disaster, and then you cried on the edge of my bed because you knew too much. Knew I'd been using alone. Knew the dangers, courtesy of your good buddy Slash and his autobiography. I'm fine, I'm right here, I said. But could I even bring myself to lie? To spout the never ever again promises that you so desperately wanted to hear, yet would never have believed? I was dope sick as fuck, or that's what everyone thought, and even then, I couldn't lie. Heroin was sacred. More sacred than you? Probably. I know which one stuck around. I know which one never became unrecognisable to me. Well, heroin, nitazines, fentanyl, potato, it's all a peaceful race to the grave, but I still remember you wanted to smell the methadone. You wanted to see the heroin. You let me shoot up in your kitchen. And yeah, you would have followed me down. It's crazy how much Kurt Cobain's voice sounds like yours when you were stoned. His accent is an irrelevance. That blonde, water sign, space cadet, cynical vibe is all you. So maybe it's right. Maybe it's all right that you're somewhere else now. Another girl, another planet. But I heard this tune and I thought of you. I could see you dancing to it, and a million memories unfurled like violet ribbon across the night sky. Through the blacklight and fog machine smoke, relics of our bygone era. But like I said, you're not a junkie. You don't get that hyperactive sleep deprivation, adrenaline nausea every time you forget a dose or go on some weird conquest of pseudo-sobriety. I doubt you even scale ill-advised woodlands at 3 AM to whirl glow sticks above the sleeping planet. There's so much we don't know about each other these days. We both changed, you more so, admittedly. 'Cause I'd do anything, even now, the craziest anythings on this unearthly earth, to keep hold of the magic, the serotonin, the ability to breathe, feel, roll up in music. Jesus. Does she still drink like a fish? Or are you guys both teetotalers now? Ugh. I don't know which one I hate worse, as vile as I know that sentiment is, but maybe it's only me who feels a piece of their soul snap agonisingly off, every epic side quest erased every time they lose a drug. 'Cause she even took the weed from your life, man. I don't want to be a part of all that anymore. You stuttered when you told me, and I could hear her bad breath words vomit from your neurons, and once again I didn't speak up. I said nothing, didn't ask, what the hell is all that, man? You're not a dealer, is all that just hanging out with me and Jack? I bet you the fuck it is. Have some goddamn conviction for once. You love weed, maybe more than any of us. And her love for you is more control than emotion. Why are you so blind? Because you blinded him, you dumb fuck. You blinded Luke with your cocaine callousness, and you blinded Ash with your autistic silence. Hungry cats go elsewhere, and he was always a cat, you know. With his colour-shifting blue-green hazel eyes and that stoned, mellow, purring smile. Burmese, undoubtedly. He had his own word for cats. I won't tell you what it was, but I reckon Stormy taught him it that night on Morning Glory Seeds. So fuck it, I doubt this song would feel like anything to you now. But I loved others after you, you know. Loved them deeper than my soul could even dive. It drowned itself dead in their narcissistic depths. Now I have nothing left. Nothing but the public persona. That soul I do not recall selling, but that seems so widely available. Trampled and stretched out now, full of popcorn footprints. Too thin, too fat, too triggering, too saccharine, too mad. Munch, munch, chew, chew, more popcorn ground into the fabric of my soul by staring, boggle-eyed strangers. Ugh, ignore me, I'm dope sick and grumpy, my bones fucking hurt and I hate everything right now, but I hear this tune and from within my goosebumped, nauseous skin I still think of you. Even now. And that was my little Storytime waffle. What I wrote the other day while I was feeling a bit grumpy and shitty. It's a bit of a wide-ranging waffle, but yeah, it's so weird the amount of parallels that there were in mine and Ash's life, from both of us having these sort of violent, rather idiotic, very destructive designs upon our high schools and colleges and all of that stuff, to, you know, our mental health issues, which often kind of ran parallel. Like we even ended up with the same stomach condition at the same time, got prescribed the same medication for our stomach condition within about a month of each other. Like we weren't living together, it wasn't the things we were eating, it was like just like our lives just, you know, they seemed to run like this, like the paths of our lives, the ups and downs, they were kind of in tow with each other. And yeah, the needles thing, he kind of developed a bit of a fascination with them for a while. Never, to my knowledge, never shot anything up like that, you know, that he always had a lot of very strong lines in the sand when it came to drugs and things he would not do. You know, unlike me, who like I had no fucking lines in the sand, basically none really. You know, obviously I didn't want to end up physically addicted to anything. Obviously, fucking failed at that completely. But that was about the one thing I didn't want to happen. But for me, it was always like, yeah, you know, I want to try the most extreme thing I can possibly try. It was for him, for various reasons, he had a lot of lines in the sand that he would not cross. But he was quite good at finding loopholes when it came to these things. Like, you know, when the last drug we ever did together was MCAT, because he'd promised a girl he dated briefly, he'd promised her he would never ever do another Class A drug. But back then MCAT was still legal so long as it was sold as plant food. So he was like, well, it's, you know, I promised, but it's a loophole. I can do this. What up? It's me in editing mode, and I have popped in to add a little bit of slightly spooky seasoning to the story time. Because when it comes to Ash and this promise he made to this girl, Lara, about not doing Class A drugs anymore, weird shit happened that clearly freaked him out and that did keep him towing the line, because this girl was kind of witchy. She was kind of a witchy girl. This was not long after The Craft and everything had come out. You know, all, you know, paganism and witchiness was very in teen vogue, and this girl was genuinely convinced that the craft had been filmed with no special effects, that it was like a genuine like portrayal of witchcraft, and that everything in it had that Firuza Balk was genuinely this all powerful. She was a bit of an odd carrot, this girl, in the nicest possible way. Like I hung out with her one-on-one now and then, and she was unusual but lovely, really, really lovely. Very non-judgmental, fun to be around, like a bit of a spitfire, but fun to be around. Anyway, yeah, she was, she had her own odd beliefs about things as well. And I don't think it was just a promise that she had Ash make. I got the feeling it was more of a ritual / curse type deal. Like, if you ever do Class A's again, some shit is gonna land on your fucking head. And I, like, knowing Lara as I did, like, I could see that was the kind of thing that she would do. Like, it was for his own good, but she would do it in a very hardcore way. And the freaky thing is that he actually did try to go back on this vow. It was one night when we were at a fetish night. I was at this club and I was on E and I had some speed with me. And at one point he kind of came up to me and he was like, "Have you just got some speed or something? Like, I fancy doing a bit." And me being me at the time, I didn't think in terms of, you've sworn off this stuff, like, what's going on? Are you okay? I was just like, hey, yeah, join me, have some fucking speed. So anyway, I give him my bag of speed and he pops off into the bathrooms and I'm, just dancing or whatever. He comes back a little while later and he looks kind of wired, and I'm thinking, whoa, that kind of hit him hard. I guess he hasn't taken it for a while. But anyway, he shoves this bag of speed back into my hand and grabs me by the arm, tows me off into a corner, and I'm like, what's up? Like, basically what had happened was that he'd gone into the toilet stall and he tapped some out on the little toilet roll holder that was on the side, and the minute he like bent down and went to snort this stuff, this voice from above went, "Don't fucking flush it." And he looked up and there was this huge fucking guy leaning over the toilet stall looking at him, and and then the guy pops down and comes round and he's like banging on the door. So Ash like blows the speed off the thing, but he's still got it in his hand and he's just been told, do not fucking flush it. And he's like, is the guy a cop? Like, and everything is flashing through his mind. Like, he knows the job he did at the time, he would have lost like 1,000,000% if there was like anything, if he even got like a caution, he would have lost that fucking job. His career would be down the toilet. Was he going to jail? Like, was this guy, like, what the fuck was going on? He was terrified, but he'd been told don't flush it. So as I say, he blew it off, but he still had the baggie. So this guy, this massive muscle bound guy, takes the baggie off him, and again he's thinking, is this guy an undercover cop? Like, is he a dealer and he thinks I'm on his turf, and like what the fuck is going on? And the guy takes the bag off him. And then, like, it seems like he's going to just take it and keep it, because the guy just takes it and, like, laughs at him or something. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this guy just going to steal my drugs and that's all it's going to be? But then the guy just kind of looks at it and gives it back to him and lets him go. And it was very mysterious, and we never worked out what the fuck this guy's deal was. Ash was very much like, he kind of felt it was almost a bit of a like weird guardian angel situation, that like, he'd gone to go back on this thing that he knew wasn't good for him, and immediately the universe had stepped in the weirdest fucking way. And he'd got out of it like with no consequences. Even he'd had the shit scared out of him, but there were no consequences for him. There were no consequences for me. We were both safe, and that after that he did not fuck around like with anything. As I say, the whole loophole MCAT, oh, it's kind of legal, I'm going to do it thing. That was after that. So he did still believe in his loopholes after that, but Class A's, no, it was more than a promise. It was binding, and it did seem to hold true the witchiness that underlined this promise. And with that little seasoning added to the story time, back we go to the video. That was one loophole, and obviously, like, needles, well, as long as you don't shoot anything up and you just take things out, you're not really shooting up. So another loophole. You know, his fascination, like, he was such a cat person, and in all senses of the word. He loved cats, but he was kind of like a cat too. And his curiosity with bad things, even though he had these firm lines that he would draw in the sand, he was so curious, he would tiptoe right up to the line and, you know, give it a bit of a lick. So, you know, when I was on methadone, like, he was kind of fascinated. He was like, what does it smell like? Like, can I smell it? What, you know, when I had heroin, he was like, can I see it? Like, what does it look like? And I do have this horrible fear that had we stayed together, the likelihood of me kind of dragging him into it, particularly because of the fact that I started with things like OxyContin and morphine. So would that have been another loophole for Ash? Quite possibly, because obviously, you know, heroin, you don't know what's in it. You know, you don't know how strong it is, you don't know what cuts are in there, it's got this reputation, bad idea. But if you're getting like oxys that look legit and you know technically how much is in there, would it have been a loophole, and would it have sucked him down with me? So essentially my hindsight is that although I really do wish we could have stayed friends, the fact that I fucked it all up and we broke up and all of that, it probably kept him safe from a lot of very negative shit. And with all of that said, I guess it's time for me to hopefully fairly briefly get on to some of the bits that I just wanted to kind of plop on the end of this video. Yes, this having been out for 2 years now, it makes me realise how naive I was when it came to initially writing this book. Like, I'm not, I think being autistic, I'm a very straightforward thinker. We can also be very naive, and we can also think, as most people do, you tend to think that how you think and the way you think and the way you do things is the way that everyone does things. And for me, some of the things that have come from this book being out have kind of blown my mind, because they were not things that I would ever do. So they weren't things that occurred to me. And what I'm largely talking about is people basically trying to delve the internet to find as much information or pictures or whatever of, you know, anyone and anyone mentioned in Millennium Gothic. You know, obviously, you know, I gave everyone got fake names. Certain people got certain disguises as well. So not everything you read is true, in terms of appearance, in terms of any of it. There's a lot of misdirection, deliberately, but nonetheless, you know, there's enough information in there, obviously, that, you know, some people have found the odd thing and this, that and the other. You know, one thing being that certain people seem to be very sure they've found out Ricky's real name, because I don't, you know, whenever they will mention, if they're talking about it anywhere, that they'll say Ricky, and then in brackets they'll put a different name, which is the name they think is Ricky's real name, as though it's like a mark of pride, like, oh, I know he really is, this is his real name. No. I did know the guy that they're kind of pointing as being Ricky. I did know him. He's not in the book. He was not a part of my life enough to be in the book, just because he has a vaguely that nationality sounding name. No. And no, I'm not saying this to protect him or to try and misdirect. If you've heard any of the stories about Ricky, he's not the kind of person that you go out of your way to protect or anything. But no, just know, like, it is very easy to get these things very wrong and to dive down a rabbit hole. But more than that, when it comes to digging people up from decades ago on the internet. If they wanted to be found, they would out themselves, you know. If they wanted to be found, they would, you know, because back in the day, in the era of Millennium Gothic, fucking everyone had their own website. Before social media, you basically made your own shitty little website with like a horrible, ugly background, and it was shittily put together, and the photos were all different sizes and cropped in paint and all of this shit. But everyone had these, right? And you know, for those of us who are still a part of the goth scene and who are still kind of in touch with who we were as young people, and we want to stay with all of that, we've left all that shit up, you know. Or we've popped back online and we've posted old photos and all of this, and we are happy to be out in public doing this shit. But for people specifically like Ash, he isn't a part of the goth scene anymore. He isn't a part of my life anymore. It would be lovely if people could respect that and not try and dig him up and things. You know, as far as sort of, I mean, like, I do get the curiosity, and I do get, like, you know, scoping for photos and things like this. I just don't know what happened to the early 2000s thing, and that to be fair I still do, which is just to save pictures. I just save them, you know. I mean, my screenshots folder is obscenely huge. Like anything that remotely interests me, anyone who's got cool hair or just looks a bit interesting, or is just I'm just like fascinated by them, or their profile intrigues me and I want to come back and check it out. Screenshot. But I don't share them anywhere, you know. I don't do the whole Pinterest thing, because this is the thing that kind of weirds me out a bit, is that suddenly, like, you know, everyone's photo collection about absolutely anything, there's a Pinterest, so that there's so much me on Pinterest is very weird. And you know, not to say if you've got any me on Pinterest, like, take it down or anything. Like, I'm not fucking fussed for me. Because I did put that shit out there. I'm horribly bad at remembering to watermark things, so, you know, the horse is largely bolted as far as me watermarking my pictures. But, you know, when it's other people, like, I've said this before, but, you know, like, my Instagram, I don't think there's like a single other person without their face being in some way masked, who is on my Instagram. Oh, actually, I think there is like one or two exceptions. When I've been at festivals and I've met people who are lovely at festivals and they've been quite happy for me to like post pictures and things, that they are on my Instagram, and that is very nice. It proves that I exist in the world, and that there's other people in my world with me, and I'm not like a solo goldfish in a bowl, you know. But in general, most people who have like a lick of sense, if I take a picture with them or anything, oftentimes they will be like, please don't put this up on Instagram. I'm like, dude, would not dream of it, would not. It's fine, it's not gonna happen. Equally, on the flip side, I will say I have had somebody who is not a nice somebody, and I did not know they were not a nice somebody to begin with, and it has been a kind of gradually dawning truth, realizing how much of a not nice somebody they are. However, they are very charismatic, very easy to talk to, and it's a very difficult situation when, you know, you bump into someone when you're out and they're charismatic and easy to talk to, and you're drunk and it flows, but in the back of your mind you're like, this person is a fucking shitty person, like, Whenever I've ended up in a picture with that person, they want me, they like pushily want me to put it up on Instagram. I guess clearly for some sort of like clout reason, some sort of like, oh look, I'm vouched for in the goth scene, and it's like, no, you're fucking not. No, you're really fucking not, dude. You're awful. So yeah, you know, anyway, tangent. But I would have had I got the hindsight, if I could go back and write Millennium Gothic again and just start from the whole beginning. Obviously, everyone would be in 1,000 million layers of disguises. No one would be described as looking remotely like themselves. There would be much thicker disguises on everyone, and I wouldn't have mentioned certain things, this, that and the other, but again, that horse is kind of bolted, so all I can really do at this point is just ask that people ideally don't really do any digging, and if you do any digging, you know, keep it as a private hobby rather than, you know, taking it to the world with whatever. I mean, it's intriguing. Like Generation Z have some amazing qualities. Like you guys are funny as fuck. You come up with some brilliant slang. I love the fact that you go to school in pajamas in America, it seems like these days. That's cool. The coolest thing about Generation Z is how much they advocate for themselves and how much they advocate for mentally ill people, and all of this, like the language that you guys have and the ballsiness that you guys have to stand up for yourselves in the face of older people. I don't wish I'd been born in this generation, because I kind of, like, I wouldn't want to lose the generation that I was born in, but I wish the mental health knowledge and advocacy and all of that stuff, I wish that had been a part of my generation. I really do. The downside of Gen Z, though, is this is growing up with the internet and being used to everything being at your fingertips. Because for me, probably my most millennial trait is that if I meet someone and I'm going to go for a date with someone or whatever, like I literally won't Google them. It's not something that crosses my mind. It's like, why would I do that, you know? But like, you know, I saw someone on TikTok being like, you know, my friend was going for a date with this guy, and she didn't even Google him. I wanted to know all the things. I had to make sure she was safe. It seems like it's like it's a given. It's like a safety precaution. It's like a normal thing to do, that you very at least Google someone. You Google someone before you meet them. You do all of this stuff. So that there is this thing that you know, anyone who enters your life or intrigues you in any way, you dive down this rabbit hole. But it's, you know, when you have to like use things like the Wayback Machine, or like, you know, Internet Archives generally, or when you're unearthing pages that are literally older than you are, you know, it's tough, isn't it? Because history is no longer artifacts and museums. You know, history is all online at the click of a button. You know, we can find out fucking everything about everyone, right back to when they were an infant at the click of a button. But the difference between millennials and Gen Z when it comes to this is that you guys knew from the get-go, you knew everything you were putting online was forever. You knew this. So generally speaking, Gen Zs are like pretty careful about what they put online. I mean, not all, you know, it's a huge generalization. Obviously you get the ones who aren't, but like our generation, we didn't know that. We didn't grow up with that. So we put a lot of shit online that we should not have put online, you know, or, you know, we always assumed we could take everything back, and the world went 180, and, you know, I feel like this cover is really everything that anyone needs to see regarding the two of us and regarding Eddie's and all the rest of it. Obviously, I did throw up pictures in the videos, in the story times. I did throw up pictures. They were all censored and things like that when it came to anyone who wasn't me. But I feel like Miss Moon Illustrations, who did this cover, it's so perfect. It's so perfect, and I feel like delving for pictures were not good in the early 2000s. Like, no one's houses looked cool. Everything was like paisley wallpaper, paisley carpets. No, you know, everyone would just take one picture. Like, you wouldn't take 1,000 because you were on a film camera or digicam with a small memory card. So, you know, pictures, video, all that, it wasn't very good. So this glorious cover, I feel, look at that, be happy with that, leave it, or just keep your delving to yourself. Keep it in your computer, in your screenshots, whatever. Just don't, you know, fluck it up, or fluck it up. I'm losing the words to speak. My brain is tired. Yeah, don't fling it all over the internet, ideally. It's me jumping back in at the end of this video just to say goodbye to you, really, because I got so sleep deprived and blah, 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 that I gave this video a complete gibberish ending. So I will shut up by saying hopefully this was a tolerable waffle. And yes, if you would like to read Millennium Gothic, if you have not, it is available on Amazon. Dorian Bridges is the author, and the book is Millennium Gothic. It is on Amazon as a physical book or as an ebook. And yes, if you've already read that one, the new one is out, and it is Exit Note. I have made a video talking about that. I'll link the Exit Note kind of drop video below if you are intrigued. But yes, this one came out a month ago. So far you guys seem to really be liking it, which is like amazing. Not because I thought it was shit, but because it's very different and quite scary to put out, this one, because it was so different, and because, you know, it feels more personal to me, even the Millennium Gothic. I was around at my friend's house yesterday, and yeah, she hopped onto the Amazon page and was reading me some reviews, and they were lovely. They were so lovely I had to stop her because it was I can't. Much as I'm shit with insults, and my skin is very thin and all of that, but I'm similarly shit with compliments. If I get too many compliments, I'm like, I have to just you know, hide in my shoe. I can't deal with it. So but yes, thank you, huge thank yous to everyone who has bought Exit Note and Millennium Gothic. But yeah, bought either of them, left positive reviews, enjoyed them, left, you know, talked to me about them, things like that. It's all been lovely and exciting, and thank you for being wonderful. So with all of that said, I'm going to shut up and disappear. So I will see you soon. Have a nice evening or day or whatever it is. Doodle bit. Over and out.